You know, when I was a child, my parents would take me to Beale Street, and we would go into this store that as soon as we would walk in, I would smell the sweet smell of incense burning my nose, and my eyes were enamored by all these multicolored candles against the wall. And as a child, I wondered, what is this about? Well, you know, it would be some 40 years later before I would realize what exactly this was. These were reminders of a culture that has such a deep history here in Memphis, the culture of hoodoo. Now, we know that hoodoo came from Africa. In fact, when Africans were torn from their homes and brought as slaves to here in the South, they brought traditions of healing and spirituality with them. They met on plantations where Protestant Christianity was practiced. And so the two melded together to give us what we know as hoodoo. Now, hoodoo, when it first arrived here in Memphis, was very much feared, insomuch that in 1872, in Germantown, Tennessee, we saw one of the most violent incidents of mob violence where 300 men beat a former slave to death because it was believed he placed a curse on a neighbor and made him sick. This same fear would permeate Memphis for years to come. In the 1940s, there were records of police going into settlements throughout Memphis, pulling out root workers and shaking them down, taking their sacred artifacts, mojo bags, roots, and herbs. But yet hoodoo survived. And it survived on a street called Beale. For on Beale Street, there were so many root workers, so many conjurers, and so many spiritual doctors that physicians in Memphis publicly complained that they were losing patients to the root workers on Beale. We started hearing musicians on Beale singing songs about John the Conqueror and Black Cat Bones. And the great W.C. Handy even sang about a hoodoo spiritual healer named Carolyn Dye. Carolyn Dye was a spiritual healer that lived in Newport, Arkansas, some 80 miles away. And she had such a following in Memphis that we had a train that would take you from Memphis to Newport, and you could ask for the Carolyn Dye special to board that train. Now, hoodoo continued to flourish. And in fact, Memphis became known as such a capital of hoodoo that sports teams that played sports teams from Memphis said they feared the Memphis hoodoo. Memphis was so ingrained with the hoodoo culture that we saw one of the landmark studies on hoodoo ever performed, partially in Memphis. The Reverend Harry Middleton Hyatt, an Anglican minister, traveled around the United States researching, doing field work on folklore related to hoodoo. He did much of his interviews in Memphis at a place called the Eureka Hotel in downtown Memphis. As hoodoo grew in Memphis, so the demand for products related to hoodoo also grew. Oils, candles, powders, and incense. And so soon Memphis became home to a number of manufacturers that made hoodoo-related curios. Out of Memphis, we saw companies like Collins Laboratories, Keystone Laboratories, and Lucky Heart Cosmetics, which soon became known worldwide as purveyors of hoodoo-related curios. As time went on, we started seeing a slow loss of this culture as it went underground. And as a member of the Schwab family from A. Schwab on Beale Street shared with me, every community at one point had someone, that woman or that man that you could go to if your child was sick, if you had felt like someone had cursed you. And unfortunately, most of the elders have passed away. There are a few still left here in the Bluff City that keep the old ways alive. What I want to share with you is, after researching this over the last couple of years, something has occurred to me, and that is that Memphis has such an integral part in the history of the African American hoodoo experience. And that's something that we should remember. And one thing that I've decided is that what New Orleans is to voodoo, Memphis is to hoodoo. Thank you.